Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty intense, I think.
Yeah.
It's this transcript of
Yeah.
Sidhu Moosewalla's final interview.
Wow. Yeah.
And, kind of going into it,
Yeah.
knowing how things ultimately ended for him,
Right.
it's a bit eerie to read.
Absolutely.
It's also really, really revealing, I think.
Oh, for sure.
It's just
Yeah.
a fascinating look into his world.
Well, and just the way the transcript itself is put together.
Yeah.
It's really a mix of Hindi and Punjabi.
Right.
He's jumping back and forth between ideas.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're
Very
hearing
good.
his thought process in real time.
Yeah, it's like stream of consciousness, almost.
Exactly.
So it's hard to follow at times, but
Yeah.
also just incredibly raw and real,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And one of the things that really struck me early on was how he talks about his fans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just the level of devotion that he's describing. Like, there's a point where he talks about fans selling property just to support his political campaign.
It's intense.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
beyond just liking someone's music.
Right,
That's
yeah.
a level of belief that I don't even know if I fully grasp.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
it speaks to that deep connection he had
Yeah.
with his audience,
Yeah.
particularly within, Punjabi culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like land ownership there.
Yeah.
That's a symbol of security, a family legacy.
Right.
So when you have people willing to sell that
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
support him, it shows the immense trust
Yeah.
and belief they placed in him. It wasn't
Yeah.
just, I like his music.
Right.
It was about shared identity.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about hope for the future.
And the pressure that must have come with that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
imagine being this young guy
Yeah.
thrust into the spotlight
Hmm.
and having people put so much faith in you,
Right.
not just as an artist, but as a potential leader.
As a potential savior almost.
Yeah. And that pressure really comes through in the interview. He talks about struggling to balance his music career with his political aspirations,
Right.
facing criticism from all sides.
Hmm.
Like, there's this constant tension between his art
Yeah.
and his desire to serve the people.
Absolutely.
And it's not like he shied away from the tough topics in his music either.
No.
He was really outspoken about societal issues,
Yeah.
corruption, the things that impact everyday people.
Mhm.
That takes some guts, I think.
It does.
Especially when you're also trying to navigate this political landscape.
Right. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because, Moose Wallace's commentary,
Hmm.
it wasn't just about raising awareness.
Right.
It was a direct challenge to the status quo.
Hmm.
He was speaking truth to power, using his platform to address things that a lot of people felt
Mm.
but were afraid to say out loud.
Yeah.
And that kind of boldness,
Right.
it inevitably attracts controversy.
Especially in that environment, right?
Oh, especially
Yeah.
in a politically charged environment like that.
Yeah, you can almost feel that tension in the interview.
Oh, yeah.
There are points where he even hints at the dangers surrounding him,
Mm-hmm.
the threats, the pressure.
Yeah.
And it's chilling to read now, knowing what ultimately happened.
Right. It really is a stark reminder of the risks
Yeah.
that come with speaking out,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a region with a history of political violence.
Right.
And, beyond just the physical threats,
Yeah.
there's the psychological toll.
Yeah.
He talks about feeling like a normal guy,
Yeah.
thrust into this extraordinary and
Wow.
often overwhelming situation.
Yeah.
And you can just sense that isolation,
Yeah.
the weight
Yeah.
of carrying so many hopes and expectations
Mhm.
on his shoulders.
It's a lot for
Yeah.
anyone to carry.
For sure.
But especially, I think, for someone so young.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, really important to remember the context here.
Mm-hmm.
Punjab's political landscape at the time
Right.
was incredibly volatile.
Yeah.
There were deep-seated tensions,
Yeah.
a history of unrest and violence.
For sure.
So for someone like Moosewalle,
Yeah.
who was both a cultural icon and a political newcomer,
Mm-hmm.
the stakes were incredibly high.
It's true. And that's what I find so compelling about this interview.
Yeah.
It's not just about his personal journey.
Right.
It's like a window into a very specific moment in time.
Exactly.
A snapshot of a society
Yeah,
grappling with all these really complex issues.
precisely. And one of the things that comes through so clearly
Yeah.
is his unwavering commitment to his roots,
Mm-hmm.
to Punjabi culture.
Yeah.
Even when he's talking about politics,
Yeah.
he's constantly referencing his heritage,
Mm.
the values and traditions that shaped him.
Yeah, there's this one part, I think, where he talks about attending a village fair.
Yes.
And how it reminded him of the simplicity of life, the things that truly matter. It's almost like he's seeking solace amidst the chaos of, his newfound fame and political ambition.
And it highlights, I think, a crucial aspect of his appeal.
Okay.
He wasn't seen as some distant elite figure.
Right.
He was one of them, a boy from the village who made it big.
Right.
But never forgot where he came from.
Right.
And that resonated deeply with people.
Especially in rural Punjab.
Oh, especially, yeah.
Where those traditional values still hold so strong.
Absolutely.
It's like he was carrying the weight of those values on his shoulders. The hopes and dreams of a generation looking for change, looking for someone to represent their struggles.
Absolutely. And that burden is palpable in his words.
Yeah, you can feel it.
You can sense the urgency, the desire to make a difference before it's too late.
Yeah.
He talks about, wanting to leave a legacy, not just through his music, but through concrete action, through political reform.
It's heartbreaking knowing that. He was robbed of that chance.
It is.
To fully realize those ambitions.
Yeah.
But even in this final interview, there's this sense of defiance.
Yes.
A refusal to be silenced.
Yes, and it speaks to the power of art as a form of resistance. His music wasn't just entertainment.
Right.
It was a weapon against injustice.
Yeah.
A rallying cry for change.
Yeah.
And that's a legacy that transcends his untimely death.
It makes you wonder, though, how this interview would be perceived if things had turned out differently. If he hadn't been murdered. Would we still see the same urgency, the same foreshadowing, or would it just be, a passionate young artist navigating the complexities of fame and politics?
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And it highlights how tragedy can color our interpretation of the past.
Right.
We can't help but view his words through the lens of what we know happened.
Right.
Even though at the time, the future was uncertain.
Yeah, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
The more we focus on the foreshadowing, the more we reinforce the inevitability of his fate.
It's a reminder, I think, of the fragility of life.
Yeah.
And the way that hindsight can distort our perception of events.
For sure.
But it also speaks to the power of Muswala's words, their ability to resonate across time and circumstance.
Yeah, even with all the chaos and jumps in the transcript, there's a core message that shines through, a message of hope, of resilience, of fighting for what you believe in.
And that's what I find so inspiring about him.
Yeah.
Despite the pressures, the threats, the constant scrutiny, he never wavered in his commitment to his values, to his people. He used his voice to challenge the status quo, to speak truth to power, even when it put him at risk.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like he knew, his time was limited, and he wanted to make sure that every moment counted.
Right, and that urgency, I think, it wasn't just about his own ambitions.
Yeah.
It was about this deep-seated desire for social change.
Right. He wanted to see things improve.
Absolutely.
And it's easy to get caught up in the tragic ending.
Yeah.
But when I read this interview, I'm struck by his optimism.
Yeah.
Like his belief in the power of young people to drive change.
Right. He talks about the need for education, for critical thinking, for engaging in the political process.
It's a message that goes beyond, just Punjab.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's a call to action for all of us.
It is.
It's a reminder that we have a responsibility to speak out against injustice, to fight for a more equitable and compassionate world.
For sure.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from exploring, Sidhu Moosewala's final interview?
I think for me, it's the understanding that even in the face of immense challenges, even in the face of danger, it's possible to hold on to hope.
Right.
To fight for what you believe in.
Right.
Moosewala's story is ultimately a tragedy.
Yeah.
But it's also a testament to the power of the human spirit, the power of art to inspire and ignite change.
And it reminds us that, every voice matters.
Absolutely.
Whether it's through music, through activism, or simply through, engaging in thoughtful conversations,
Yeah.
we all have the capacity to make a difference.
We do.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful and honestly emotionally moving.
Yeah.
Deep dive.
It has been.
Thank you for joining us as we explored the life and legacy of Sidhu Moosewala.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.